Hello everyone, welcome to another episode on outbreak. Today I'll be talking about Brazil, focusing on the impact of coronavirus pandemic on the beautiful Southern American country called Brazil. Brazil is the biggest nation in Southern America. It's the biggest in landmass, population, and even its economic power. Brazil has been suffering so hard from coronavirus pandemic, making them the second only to America in terms of numbers of cases and deaths by the coronavirus. Who should be held accountable for this? Why are they in this position? And what is the future for these people of Brazil? This and a lot more I'll be talking about today on the podcast. I am Hassan and this is outbreak. Before I start, I just want to tell you guys that my next podcast, which I want you guys to watch out for, we'll be talking about New York City. I've been talking about it for some time, but I think right now I'm going to go into it and talk about the state of New York City. Watch out for that on my next podcast. Now let's go into this. Brazil is home to just a little under 210 million people, making this beautiful Southern American country the 5th or 6th most populous country in the world. Now, this is a very interesting number, but not just that Brazil is big in terms of their population. Brazil is a beautiful country in terms of because the way the Latin America culture is set up, there's a lot of community activity, a lot of brotherhood, and this familiarity. I guess this was one of the reasons why there's a spike in the number of cases and deaths in Brazil. Because Brazil reported 46,934 cases, new coronavirus cases, and 1,184 deaths of disease created by the virus in 24 hours. That's what the health ministry says. Brazil has registered 3.9 million cases since the pandemic started, and their official death toll has risen to 123,780 based on their health ministry's data, making it second only to the United States of America in terms of cases and death from coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. Let us think for a second. Brazil, who would have thought? Not China, not India, not Italy, not Spain, not Germany. Brazil is the second leading country when it comes to coronavirus number of cases and death. And this is a very, very jarring thing. Because some of us remember that there was a time the Brazil, even recently now, they said there was a fire in the Amazon forest. Brazil is one of those countries that is somewhat steady because I think they're the richest in Latin America. And to know that they have these staggering numbers, and all of this did not start because Brazil did not got hit with the virus as soon as like countries like America and China got it. No, it took a while. I think Brazil started getting the memo around March, April, where they had the chance, because this has been going on since February, to really guide against it. I mean, I saw some videos on TV and and also on YouTube of how there's mass burials all over the place in Brazil. Brazilians are burying their loved ones in mass. Like it was a lot of people, mass burial all over the place. And it's a very shocking one. Because this is what their health ministry is giving us. There are chances that it's probably more than that. But if you've had more than 123,000 deaths, America has more than 183,000 deaths, if I'm not mistaken. And they have 123,000 deaths. That is a lot of people that is dead already. And their cases is right now almost 4 million cases. America is, I think, maybe 6 or so million cases. So you can see that their number of deaths is fast approaching to that of America. And Brazil is one of those countries that is so steady, and they are scientifically sophisticated because they've dealt with a lot of viral infections in the past. So you now want to wonder, why is this the case now? Well, many experts are blaming the president, whose name is Jair Bolsonaro, for the outbreak and spread of the virus. The president got infected in June, and he described the virus as a measly flu, it's a common flu. And during this time, during this pandemic, at least 2 of his health ministers had resigned, and he just basically replaced them, the last person with the military general that has no prior experience in health related activities or field. Brazilians are not happy, especially the elite and the scientists and the teachers, people that knows what's going on. They are really upset with the way and manner this president has handled this pandemic. They say he is a huge fan of President Trump, and his rhetorics are that of President Trump in terms of downplaying the flu, talking as if the flu is nothing but just going to go away, wishing it away, and many things like that. They are saying our people are dying, and you are here saying that it's going to go away or it's a common flu, when we've buried over 123,000 people. Those people, each and every single one of them, have family members, have loved ones, have people that care about them. The issue of this pandemic is real to some of us because a lot of us have had an experience with it. Many of my listeners know that I am personally a victim of this virus, and I know it's not just peculiar to me. I know millions of people are out there that are survivors of this virus, but we've lost thousands of people too. And in the world calculation, we are now about millions of people now that is dead from this virus. And as we know now, the virus may not necessarily kill you, but you may die of death that is related to that virus because of your compromised immune system. It's somewhat like HIV. It's just in a more, it kills you faster, I would say, because once your lungs is compromised, there's no defense system. I remember from my last podcast when I said that lung cancer is the number 1 killer of man. So when somebody attacks your lung, that area is a real problem. And this virus is a respiratory viral infection. So it's a big deal. So like I said earlier, because the reason Brazil's case is a little bit shocking to the rest of the world is because, I made a podcast lately about the polio that is almost eradicated from the world, but for 2 countries, and that's Pakistan and Afghanistan. Brazil is one of the countries that led the way in all of this groundbreaking health discovery or medical expertise. Brazil. Because Brazil has a universal public health care system with one of the best immunization programs in the developing world, which has enabled it to contain outbreaks of yellow fever, measles, and other pathogens. So you now wonder if they are so sophisticated, especially in this world of healthcare and immunization and vaccination and all those things. Why can't they control this? Many reasons. We have many reasons for that. Many reasons, but it just goes to tell you that at the end of the day, the leadership is like everything really. Because I saw on the news lately that even the White House are trying to bring back that office that looks into epidemics and all those things. Because remember that it was John Bolton that sort of dissolved that office literally and replaced with Ham's office in the White House. And White House are like, they realized that if that office was there, maybe they would have gotten a good hand or a good feed of what's going to happen to this country. But because it was not there, so they were relying on CDC, and CDC, so they need a correspondent in the White House So this is the same thing with this particular case in Brazil. Under the former president, Brazil was doing amazingly well, and they have many things that, like I said, they were leading the world in terms of developing nations, in terms of immunization. They've been polio free a long time ago, and they are always challenging the status quo because they have smart people in Brazil. But what has happened to this great body of this healthcare system that is so robust and is internationally recognized? Simple: leadership. Because since the past 4 years or so, there has been steady cuts to the budget allocation for that particular healthcare sector in Brazil. So budget cuts coupled with internet disinformation has crippled the ability of this sector. I'm not trying to say anything evil of the president, because I don't know him that much to talk about him. But I'm trying to say that, these people, they have this belief that they can compromise. They don't want to listen to healthcare or medical practitioners for whatever reason. Maybe because, everybody, in my opinion, even some of these medical practitioners too, they have their own hidden agenda. They want to get more allocation. They want to fund some things. Sometimes their interest is not really clear. Is it for you or for the people? But that notwithstanding, even at that, you still owe it to your people to make sure that you're doing everything humanly and governmentally possible to make sure that your people's health and their welfare is your top priority. So whether the healthcare system is a fraud or not, you still owe it to your people, because if it's not broken, why do you want to fix it? Because if this system that has been in place in Brazil, that looks into the way they immunize their people, the way they get things done, there are programs that are looking into how they've been able to curtail and contain outbreaks in the past, like I said, yellow fever, measles, and other pathogens. If those measures are still in place, they will have been because those measures will help you in terms of contact tracing, in terms of supplies and where to focus, because Brazil is such a big country. There are so many tribes in the Amazon and all those places. Like I read in the news that one of the leaders of an Amazon village like that is a big time leader, is a big time recognized leader in Brazil. He just tested positive for the virus. So, but if those measures were in place, that sector was functioning well the way it was supposed to function, they would have been able to find a way to guide against that stuff does not get to those people in those remote areas of Brazil. Because I'm talking about villages that you cannot access with your leg or your car. You have to paddle a canoe to get to those villages. They know the people better. They would have done, because they kicked polio out of Brazil. So they would have done this. But because that particular ministry has been crippled for several years now. So there's that going on. So, and people keep downplaying it. So the people are not sensitized enough. They are not well informed of the power and the goodness of having a country that is based and is run on fact, not fiction or conspiracy theories. So we have that miseducation and lack of leadership. Because if there was good leadership that provided enough budget, that would have oversaw this thing before it even came to bear. So there's that part of it. So this, what I just mentioned now, is the number one reason why Brazil is where they are. And all fingers still points to who? To Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil. Now, in the midst of this thing, there has been so many things. People are accusing him of nepotism, of this, of that, corruption, stealing money, and all those things. This is a man that said just that he wished he could punch a reporter in his face for asking him a dumb question. Again, I'm not going to focus on what the president is saying, but my podcast today is to focus on the people of Brazil. How, if they had a more proactive leadership that has a more practical and realistic approach to this kind of pandemic, maybe these people that have died in Brazil, this hurt and pains and anguish of the people of Brazil would have been minimized a great deal. So there's a lady called Natalia Pasternak. She's microbiologist and she's also a broadcaster. She has so many things that she said, and I'll be saying some of those things later. But she's just really, really upset. And not just her. Like I said, a lot of experts are just mad that this man is just not taking this thing seriously. And you would have expected there should be an uprising in Brazil by now, if truly this is what is going on. But guys, that's not the case. That's not the case. As a matter of fact, the people of Brazil are cheering for their president. And you'll be like, oh my God, what's going on? Yes, they're cheering him on. Are they all docile? Absolutely not. They do not believe in science? Of course they do. So why are they cheering this president on? Yes, I'll be giving you all of this facts in a short while. But before I say that, I just want to give us a quote from Miss Natalie Pasternak. She says, "My role is to do everything I can to inform the population about how science works and why we need to trust science to guide our decisions. Because science is the best tool we have to fight this pandemic." Meanwhile, this lady has granted over 300 interviews, appeared in more than 90 podcast episodes of different platforms, and has written a lot of articles just to talk about the level of urgency that this pandemic requires. But it seems that everything's landing on a deaf ear. Then you want to ask yourself, why are Brazilians not paying attention to science, to facts, to proven truth? Well, you can guess it. Well, yes, your guess is as good as mine. Now, the reason is this. Again, the people of Brazil, the beautiful people of Brazil, because Brazilians are beautiful people. I mean, I'm yet to see a Brazilian that's not good looking. They are smart, they are really athletic people, they're good with their sport, their soccer is one of the best, if not the best in the world. And, they are good. So we can never associate them with docility, because they are not. But again, poverty is a huge weapon in the hands of politicians. Yes, poverty is a powerful weapon in the hands of politicians. They play that poverty and risk card a lot. And it's like a win-win strategy. Now, what am I talking about? So, long before this pandemic became a thing in Brazil, Bolsonaro and his administration has decided to give the people of Brazil $110 a month. Yes, they give their citizens, the poor ones, their poorest citizens, $110 per month. So with this kind of money coming in and the speculation of a virus that is never here yet, the Brazilian people they are very enthused, and they are impressed by their president, that at least he's taking care of them. So even when this virus finally landed and became a thing, the money is still constant. And with this, they've been able to be economically empowered to buy things and do things that they've always wanted to do. Because a lot of them never made that kind of money before. And as Cesar Zucco, a political scientist, mentioned, he says, the benefit reached many people long before the disease did. Many people have gone 2 or 3 months with never seen income, and they have not yet seen the disease. And even if they have its income, they are not used to making. That money is just a lot, like, whoa. And so many rural, remote areas has been transformed due to this, because there's a lot of economic activities going on. The hotels in those places are booming, they are popping, and things are going on. So they are impressed that this man is doing something. Their roads are tarred, and he's moving. And this is a man that is not, coming to office, was not seen as a politician that was for the grassroots. Even though he's from the grassroots, even though he's from the poor, he comes from a very poor background, but his political ideology is seen as that of elites. But during this pandemic, he has focused a lot on the welfare of the poorest of the people in Brazil. And that has earned him a huge political score point. They love him. People that did not vote for him when he came in are saying that now they're going to vote for him because why shouldn't they? They have money to take care of their things. Yes, they are dying, but those who are living have some money to play with. So you see, the weaponization of poverty. Think about it. If the people had been a lot better economically, wouldn't they have seen it a little bit different? Like, okay, listen, I know you have to give us money, but can you take a better approach so that we don't lose this much people? Like the way America is really mad at the president right now, because President Trump, despite his success, which you cannot deny, his major problem will be how he is handling this pandemic. Because obviously, this has taken away everything he has done up until this moment. So the Americans are poor too, but poverty is not the major problem of America because we have a population, we have an inflation, we have an unemployment rate that was less than 4%. So that is a good thing for Americans. So now we are not as poor, so we can challenge the status quo, unlike what have gone on in Brazil. Anyway, so these are the things that made him to be really good with the people of the grassroots. But do you know that now you ask me, what is that sustainable? Is given the people, we have a population of over or about 210 million people. We're giving them $110 monthly, which according to Brazil authorities say that that accounts for like $10 billion spent monthly. Would giving them that money be sustainable for the people of Brazil? Many experts have said that is not sustainable. That the economy is gonna very soon nosedive. It's gonna spiral into recession or bankrupt. Well, as of today, it is confirmed that Brazil is in recession. You see, sometimes these experts they know what they are talking about. But now, the president has a choice to make now. Would you keep giving these people this amount of money and your economy keep going down, keep tanking, or would you find a more realistic approach to solving the problem at hand? Because at some point, you're going to have to stop giving them this monthly stimulus package because there's a financial aid and all this health package that's giving them. You're going to have to stop because at what cost is it for you people if you guys are not producing, because you guys are, you guys are locked in or whatsoever. And of course, talking about that, Bolsonaro is a major advocate for open economy. He has been saying to people of Brazil, that's one of the reasons why the experts are mad at him, that you keep encouraging these guys to go to work. And you know full well that going to work is like going to the house of death, because the people cannot fully right now start, integrating and doing things as usual. But people of Brazil are saying, yeah, we have this money, let us go to work. And, so there's that, when you are when you're weaponizing lack of education and poverty, you always have the popular support of the people. I'm not saying that what he's doing is wrong, but what I'm just saying is that the approach is not sustainable, because now their country is in recession officially. Yeah, the people are clamoring and they're still loving him, but to what effect? Because if the country goes bankrupt, and how do you get out of this now? So I guess maybe you have to double down, ask them to go back to work, because there's a silver lining, and which is my final point. Yes, the country is in recession, and they are struggling right now, because it says that Brazil's economy contracted by a record 9.7% in the second quarter of 2020, plunging into recession as coronavirus lockdown its own. The official statistics agency, that's what it says. GDP is now at the same level as at 2009, at the height of the global financial crisis. That's what the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics says. It was the biggest drop since the current system of record began in 1996. So Brazil, their economy has contracted by a record of 9.7% in the second quarter. So they are now in recession, which was what the people are saying. That if you keep giving these people spending $10 billion a month in terms of stimulus checks to people to the poorest of us, it is not sustainable. Because now there's lockdown, you give them money, people are not producing, we cannot keep running this kind of economy. So they are hit by a recession now. Recession is not the worst of things, because with a good plan, America went through it, you can always come out of it. And Brazil is going to come out of this. But this is the good news I will leave the people of Brazil with. While Bolsonaro might have downplayed the significance of medical practices or science and research, why those things might be true. You know what else is true? Is that the number of cases in Brazil right now has plummeted. It is going down. Their curve is flattening. And you want to ask yourself, how come? Well, when you have 3 million plus cases, you are bound to have crowd immunity. And like some health experts have said, in places like New York and London, that we are already experiencing a sizable crowd immunity in places like New York and London. So I think there is a speculation that Brazil itself is already enjoying crowd immunity. And on that note, I'll be ending my podcast. I hope that this is true, that Brazil, it really, after a very long rainy night, that the morning is full of a bright shining sun for them, because crowd immunity will just be the way to go. And that's the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy that you guys are able to listen to this podcast. It took me a while to bring up this one, and it's a very interesting one. We'll be watching closely to see what's going on in Brazil. And if you'd like to reach out to us again, please contact us at Astropods on Instagram and Twitter. And I'm Hassan again. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Be safe. Bye for now.